Mae'Govannen, my Elven brothers and sisters, and today I'd like to do a little bit different kind of video. This one is about an upcoming book, but I'd also like it to be a lesson in the video itself. So I hope you listen. It's not for selling a book. This is about something that has been near and dear to me for a very long time. And the name of this video is Zen and the Art of Being Elven. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of what Zen is. It is a very special meditational practice or philosophy. It is not a religion. Any religion can practice Zen. It is another common name for it is the way, to basically find who we truly are and to bring about inner peace and calmness. And as I said, any religion can be a part of this. It can be Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, Hindu, Hebrew. It doesn't matter. This is not a religion. It is a way of thinking, a way of living one's life. All right. So if you want to hear the exact definition of what Zen is and why I believe that Zen and Elven are really one and the same, the actual Wikipedia definition for Zen is the term Zen is derived from the Japanese pronunciation of the Middle Chinese word Chan, an abbreviation which is a Chinese transliteration of the Sanskrit word of dhyana, which is meditation. So if you want to boil it all down, Zen is a form of meditation and a way of calming and bringing the mind into balance. All right, Zen emphasizes rigorous self-restraint, meditation practice, insight into the nature of mind. All right, perceiving the true nature, okay, and the nature of things and the personal expression of this insight in our daily life. So Zen for many becomes a way of life. Again, you can still be Christian or Hebrew, it doesn't matter, but Zen becomes a way of life. You probably heard a lot of people say, okay, that just feels so Zen, or when I'm doing something, I'm just getting into the Zen mood. Zen means literally meditation, being in the moment, where every action that you do is in the moment. You're not letting yourself being diverted by the future or by the past. You are living in the now. All right, and that may sound all very simple, and it really is. As I've tried to say on many videos, life is actually very simple. It's ourselves who complicate it, and I see this with so many people that I talk to. A lot of you know that I'm a doctor. I've been a doctor for over 20 years. And most of the patients, for example, that we've treated over these decades, most of the issues are self-inflicted. Most of them are due to not handling stress, allowing too much drama in their lives, poor dietary or lifestyle choices, things that we actually have an immense amount of control over. And Zen actually helps you get that kind of control back in your life. So, Zen and the Art of Being Elven. Okay, how does Zen have anything to do with being Elven? Because if we look at what Tolkien, because again, for those who know me, most of my perception of Elven culture and Elven ways and history has to do with Tolkien's gifted insight, some might say divine, but his gifted insight into what is Elven and where do we come from. Well, one of the most important things that I noticed that Tolkien said about the elves in general is he actually said this. He said, elves are our true nature. It is who we truly are as man. As man, we are actually elves. And it is our true nature. He said it is our highest aspiration, our highest nature, our highest reflection of who we are is being Elven. So we are elves, all right? So Tolkien talked about elves being in for the long haul, the long game, the long song, because elves are by our very nature immortal. All right, anyways, we know a lot of people are living and growing old and getting sick and dying, but that is not actually of our true nature. So if we are by true nature eternal, all right, then the future and the past don't exist. It doesn't matter to us. I have a video, and I'll try to remember to put a link in the description, a video that I did about Elven time and our concept or perception of time. And this is exactly the same perception of time that is Zen Buddhism, that is Zen. Zen knows that there is nothing exists but the now. There is no future, there is no past, there is just now. And that is how elves live. We know that we are in the moment, we are eternal, and all that matters is right now. Please take a look at the video that I was just talking to you about on Elven time.
You're late.
A wizard is never late, Frodo Baggins. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.
Time. I think it'll help you understand a little bit more the connection here. But we are eternal. This is the now. That's all that matters. I've noticed something, and some of you might disagree, but I've noticed it when I've done counseling for patients with anxiety and depression disorders. And the cliche is kind of true, where it says those who are chronically anxious live in the future, and those who are chronically depressed live in the past. Those who have found peace of heart, peace of mind, live in the now. And that's what Zen is all about. Zen is about teaching you to live in the now, to calm the mind and find peace. I think I mentioned this before. Zen will compare the truth, because that's one of the things that so many of us through lifetime after lifetime attempt to do, is to find the truth, to look for the truth. And Zen is trying to tell you that you already found it. It's already there. It's you. You are part of the one mind. There's nothing else but the one mind. And you are an aspect of it, a manifestation of it. But you are the one mind. So the seeking for the truth. And so one of the Zen parables would talk about comparing truth to the moon. And for most people, if you look at the analogy that the moon is truth, all right, the symbol of truth, most people spend their whole lives looking at a lake, and they can see the reflection of the moon in the lake, and they say, I found the truth, when really the truth was not there. That was just a reflection of the truth. Because what happens when you only look at the reflection of something? It can be disturbed by the slightest breeze, by the slightest emotional change in you, or something manifest in your life and causes disturbance. And the analogy in this would be, you're looking at the moon, but you think you're looking at the truth when you're just looking at its reflection in the water, and a breeze comes by, or a frog jumps and splashes in the water, and it causes a ripple. And all of a sudden your reflection of the moon is rippled, it's blurred. And so you're not actually looking at it. When if you just, all you had to do is realize, was just turn around, and you would see the truth for what it is. And that's one of the things that Zen teaches us, is to look within, that the truth is already there. I talked about another, I think in a previous video also, the little story of when the gods thousands of years ago decided to hide the truth, to hide all knowledge and to hide the truth. And they wanted to hide it from man, because they knew that if man ever discovered the truth, he would be as the gods. He would realize who he truly is. So one of the gods said, okay, we need to hide it. Let's go ahead and hide it on top of the highest mountain, because man will never get there, surely. We'll never get to the highest mountain. And one of the gods quietly spoke up and said, no. One day man will get there, and he will find the truth. So the gods all started going, okay, all right, where can we hide the truth if that's the case? Another god came up and said, we'll hide it in the deepest parts of the ocean, the deepest, the Marianas Trench. We will hide it at the bottom of the trench, for surely man will never be able to go there. And the gods were quiet for a moment, and then that same god that spoke up earlier said, no, man is smarter than we give him credit for. One day he will go to the bottom of the ocean, and he'll find the truth. Well, they were all getting upset, going, well, where can we hide the truth? And another god spoke up and said, I know. We will put it on the moon, because surely man will never get to the moon. And of course, that same god who spoke up earlier went, again, you're not giving man enough credit. One day he will go to the moon, and then he'll find the truth, and he will be as we are. So they all got very quiet. They did not know where to hide it until one god who hadn't been speaking up, was very, very quiet in the background, spoke up and said, I know where to hide the truth, for surely men will never go there. And all the gods were like, where can we put it? And the god quietly spoke up and said, we will hide it in his heart, because he will never go there. And that's something I have noticed, is that man, in general as a species yet, will not look to themselves, will not look within to find it. Today is the age of distraction more than any other time in human history. It is so easy to become distracted. The smartphones or the web or the news, the media driving everyone crazy just about, and the government giving more and more distractions, making it more and more easy for us to not look within, but to trust without. Okay, I'm going to trust the media. I'm going to trust the government. I'm going to trust the internet, for surely everything on the internet is true. Of course, we know better. But I won't look within, or I will even trust my my church and such, because I'll believe whatever they tell me, and I don't have to interpret the law, okay, or the word. And of course, we know that's not true. Eru, God, gave us a brain, gave us an ability to be able to decide for ourselves, to look within and find what that truth is. And that's what Zen does. You know, Zen has a beautiful story that I love to tell. And it goes, this is about seeking for the truth. Suppose a warrior, forgetting that he was already wearing a pearl on his forehead, were to seek for it elsewhere. He could travel the whole world without finding it. But if someone who knew what was wrong were to point it out to him, the warrior would immediately realize that the pearl had been there all the time. So it goes on, so if you, students of the way, are mistaken about your own real mind, not recognizing it, that it is the Buddha, that it already is the Buddha, you will consequently look for him everywhere, indulging in various achievements and practices and expecting to attain realization by such graduated practices. And what Zen wants to teach you is that in the blink of an eye, you can suddenly realize who you are. There is no enlightened, there is no ignorant, there is no difference, there is no duality, there is no good, there is no evil. It's simply how we perceive the world and how we act upon it. That you are already an enlightened being. You are already Elven. All you have to do is realize who you are. And in that moment, it can happen. And one of the beautiful things that happens with Zen is they have a practice called Zazen. And it is a method of meditation. And it can be an interesting one. Most people meditate with their eyes closed, but within Zen, you meditate with your eyes open. And I have been doing it for a very long time, and it is meant to calm the mind. Remember that lake with the moon? It's meant to calm that lake and to bring peace of the mind and to realize who you really are. One of my favorite Zen masters of olden time was Hong Po. He passed away about 850 AD, and he was an amazing teacher. There are some beautiful books out with his discourses and sayings, and it taught me a lot studying his teachings. And he has some beautiful things that teaches us about who we really are and how simple it is and how we already are who we are if we would just find that peace, that center, and realize who we are. And just a realization, it's an awakening. That's why I'm producing the second book. It should be out hopefully in the next couple of months. Zen and the Art of Being Elven. It's book 2 of the Elven Awakening books. Elven Awakening is already out, and you can find it on Amazon. I'll put a link down there if you'd like to take a look at it. But Zen and the Art of Being Elven teaches you about the meditation practices, how you are so much, and how Tolkien so much talked about Zen, just never used the word. Because as elves, again, all that matters is the now. What can be done in the now and living in the now, and most people do not do that. There's some beautiful quotes from Huang Po that I'd like to live by. He said that the Buddha, which so many people aspire to be like the Buddha, and that's a wonderful aspiration. He said the Buddha and all sentient beings are nothing but expressions of the one mind. There's nothing else. We are simply one with the one mind. We are one with everything. And one of the greatest things that we can do in life, and one of the hardest things to do, is to let go of me, of I, and realize that let the ego go. A lot of people are afraid of letting the ego go because they feel like they will lose a complete connection with self. But what you actually find is that you realize, not that you become one with everything, because you already are, but that you realize just the oneness that you already are with everything. You are that bumblebee. You are that butterfly. You are that drop of rain. Already, that is what you are. And when you calm the mind and realize this, you find that you can look at a drop of rain and understand all water, understand the oceans of the seas just from a drop of water. All right, the nature of the mind when understood. No human speech can compass it or disclose it. Enlightenment is not to be attained, and he that gains it does not say he knows. So you can't describe it in words, but when you have it, when you realize that you already are enlightened, you know, and you don't need to talk about it. People are scared to empty their minds, fearing that they will be engulfed by the void. What they don't realize is that their own mind is the void, which means you are part of the one. To awaken suddenly to the fact that your own mind is the Buddha, that you are the Buddha, that there is nothing to be attained or a single action to be performed, this is the supreme way. Elves don't try to become elves. Elves don't try to live forever. It just is. We just are Elven. In Zen, we learn that it's already there. All we have to do is realize it. Calm the mind. Find that center. And you can. And you can realize suddenly who you are. Okay, one of the last things I want to talk about there is this was a quote by Huang Po. It's a little bit of a long one, but it's really important, and it teaches us about who we are and how so many people spend their lives. I was one of them. Going from practice to practice to practice, from school to school. Somebody made a comment one time when they came into the clinic and they saw all my degrees and certifications on the wall, for medical. And they said they'd never met anybody that had more degrees and more certifications than me. And of course there are more, but this is this person's individual perception. And I have spent so long going from degree to degree, from school to school, from philosophy to philosophy, to finally realize that it doesn't matter. It's all here if you will just find your center, calm down. So this was Huang Po's quote about the real Buddha, and I'll try to place it up here so that you guys can see it during the video. The real Buddha. Okay. People perform a vast number of complex practices, hoping to gain spiritual merit as countless as the grains of sand on the riverbed of the Ganges. All right. But you are essentially already perfect in every way. You are already Elven. You don't have to become Elven. Don't try and augment perfection with meaningless practice. If it's the right occasion to perform, then let practices happen. When the time has passed, let them stop. If you are not absolutely sure that the mind is the Buddha, and if you are attached to the ideas of winning merit from spiritual practices, then your thinking is misguided and not in harmony with the way. To practice complex spiritual practices is to progress step by step, but the eternal Buddha is not a Buddha of progressive stages. Just awaken to the one mind, and there is absolutely nothing to be attained. This is the real Buddha. You are the real Buddha already, if you would just realize that. Calm the mind, find that center, and you would know who you are. All right, so I just wanted to make a short little video about that, showing about who we really are, that as elves, whether we realize that in this lifetime or not, we are eternal. We will one day awaken to who we are and realize that less is more. We don't have to go through so many different practices. We can narrow it down to just simply one. Quiet the mind. Find that inner peace. Live in the moment. Most people will not and say they cannot do that, but one of the most important things we can do is live in the moment. You want to realize who you are as an elf? Then realize that we are already here. We already are Elven. And the elves of Tolkien's descriptions didn't seek to find enlightenment, didn't seek to realize who they were, because they already knew it. And that is man at their highest aspiration, at their highest growth, is to know that we already are there if we will just accept it. So if you're interested, you can catch some of my past videos in the Elven Awakening, and I do talk about this as well. And in the new book, Zen and the Art of Elven, I go into it in more detail. But there are lots of videos also on YouTube about how to do Zen meditation and practice and so forth. But you don't need to seek without. You don't need to do anything but look within and find who you are. And that can be done with your religions. You don't have to leave your religion behind. But just realize that we are who we are and that we're already there if we'll just accept it. All right. Well, I hope this helps you, and I'll leave some links in the description so you can learn about the Elven School, Mae'Govannen, about the books that I've been describing. And please leave your comments and let me know what you think. I'd be curious if anybody else who has done Zen as well, and how you can see the link between Zen and being an eternal Elven. All right, just knowing who you are already. All right, I hope everyone has a most blessed rest of the day. Namaste.